Welcome to the first episode of No Wasted Words. I'm your host, Adejo. These interviews are meant to give insight to young people like myself on navigating the world and the idea that the journey is not linear. My first guest is Jason Gerald. He worked in the NYPD for 20 years, graduated from Harvard with his master's in public administration, and he is a beloved member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, heavily influencing every brother that has entered the bond in New York for the past 40 years. Jason, it's great.
Also let them know we're in the same chapter.
He's also a member of the Mu Kappa chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, spring 1983, one of the charter members. So, how you feeling?
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. So we can just get straight into it. I just wanted you to give a introduction to you as when it comes to your career path and also just how you got to Binghamton and what you did afterwards.
How I got to Binghamton, it was just a strange story. I was actually running track for Columbus High School, and there was a senior who had ran there before I ran there. He had a few of the school records before I broke them, and I literally went to Binghamton to run against him and with him, and never ran a day in Binghamton at all. Wind up playing basketball, just never ran again. So that's kind of how I got to Binghamton, so it's kind of a weird story.
And then what about where you're from and your upbringing?
I grew up in foster care until I was about 11, so I bounced around a lot. I lived with my mother for about maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I started running away from home. So I got put into other type of secure settings, which was a little unusual for a runaway. And I stayed in different secure settings, group homes and boys' home until I went to college. So very unique upbringing.
Yeah.
Not for everybody.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't even imagine running away from home, let alone
My first runaway was 2 or 3 days. After that, I'd be going for a month or so. It was not the best look.
It's just a lot of fending for yourself.
Oh, not a lot of fending for myself. So the good thing is back in the day, schools had showers. So I can shower in school. I always had a job, even back then, and I bagged groceries. So I had some money, and I just didn't have a place to put anything. So whatever I bought and wore was just going to be for that day or maybe a day or two, and then trash it, buy something else. Usually sweats. 14-year-old, you can walk around in sweats all the time. There's no real dress code. So.
Yeah, nobody cares. Yeah.
No one cares. So. And those are cheap and disposable. Just throw it out, buy new underwear, and just go like that. So you don't think about how different your life is, at least until I got to college and started rooming with regular people. And then I saw how offline the way I grew up was. And obviously it was a new beginning, a new change. I had a coach that invested some time in me. I had other mentors and, other bros that paid attention to me, and that kind of smoothed out some of the rough edges,
So when you got to college, can you talk about the importance of having a mentor and who really heavily influenced you to get
Well, I'm not sure I can say heavily, but the few mentors I had were literally just the older juniors and seniors on the basketball team, the few black members. So they were my first one. I came in on a program called EOP, which is how a lot of us came. So I had some of the older counselors talk to me about a couple things there. I didn't need a lot of mentoring. I wasn't a total mess, but for having conversations with some of the older brothers, that helped. And 1 or 2 of them eventually established our chapter. That was Donnell, so. And they were the people that I kind of watched and, until at least later when I pledged and became brothers with them.
And I know you didn't graduate from Binghamton. So, what was that decision? Why did you make that decision?
Well, I was not really putting my best foot forward academically, and I had an opportunity to join the police department. And I always thought the purpose of going to college was to get a job, and I had a job that looked like after a couple of years it was going to pay. And I think that sometimes jobs find you. When I take a look at what kind of work environment I wanted, I thought the NYPD would be a good fit. I didn't want to sit at a desk. I wanted to walk around. I wanted to talk to people. I had a little bit of a rough edge to me. At least I can tolerate the rough edges. So I thought it was a decent thing. And my goal was not even to stay. I was going to do 6 months to a year, get my money back up, and then go finish my last semester to at Binghamton. But after my first week, I was never going back. It also helped that at the time the NYPD paid for your college.
Yeah.
So I transferred to John Jay. I lost some credits. They backed me all the way up to back to 96. And that wasn't too much. That wasn't too bad because I had like 103 at Bingham. So I didn't lose that many credits.
Yeah, that's like
It
close.
gave me, it zeroed out my cum. I started with a new cum. And you still had, I think at the time they were telling me I had to do at least 24 credits. I forget. I wound up being overcredited before I graduated anyway because I was taking classes in the thing I was doing. So for me, it was super interesting. And I actually discovered that I liked school. You know, I was in a program that emphasized writing as opposed to exams. And once I started writing about what I was doing, it became a lot of fun. And I had really good professors at John Jay. So I blew through that pretty quickly. And it took a while before I graduated. You know? And I wasn't in a rush because, I work in the daytime, be a police officer at night or be a police officer. It swapped back and forth. So it was a good fit. And John Jay is pretty good for that, for making it a fit for young officers who schedule goes back and forth. So that was really helpful.
Did you always want to be a police officer?
Never.
Or-
It literally was a job that I can get that was going to pay some money. Like most of my family friends, they advised me not to do it. They didn't understand why I was doing it. I think my college coach was the only one that thought that this would be a good look for me. Everybody else to a person was like, oh no, that's bad look, so. And I wasn't, too sure it was a bad look either. I just knew that I could earn enough money to straighten some things back out. And even then, when I tried to get into the police department, I failed the psychological and the physical. So I kind of had to deal with that before I got back on.
Yeah, it's funny that you failed the physical, but then you became like a trainer for
I was
academy.
running literally a 420 mile when I failed the physical. I failed the physical because I have a heart defect that I've always had. Even when I was running miles and playing basketball, it's never interfered with anything. But they hear that as a red flag, so it jumps right off. And I failed the psychological because I wasn't prepped on how to answer questions properly. And I actually told them the truth about some things that maybe I shouldn't have. Have you had a fight? Yeah, I have a lot of fights. That's not really the thing they want to hear. It sounds like I'm a impulsive person who loses my temper often. When I was like, no, it's where I grew up. It's the terrain I had to go through. It's just I live in boys' home and group homes. They're not known for like kids that never get into fights. But they weren't very. Culturally, when you're talking about the person interviewing you, also there's a total disconnect between a middle-aged white person interviewing a young inner-city black kid about their experiences growing up, especially since I didn't grow up like in the way everybody else grew up. So,
what positions did you hold in the police department?
Initially, like everybody else, I was a police officer. I was originally assigned to 9th Precinct, Alphabet City. I trained there 6 months to a year, and then I was supposed to get moved to another precinct, which was my request, which totally got ignored. And I literally thought I had enough money to go back to Binghamton, and when they told me I was going to be staying in the 9th Precinct, I was so ready to quit. But there was a senior police official. He was like a chief or something like that, and he spoke to me. And I'm glad he took a minute to speak to me. And he was cautioning me. He says, don't give me a shield now. You don't have to resign today. You could resign next week, the week after. Just give it a shot. And his point was that, I'm a really young officer that they tell I have a good career path. And he thought that Alphabet City would be a great training ground. And I was just so angry at, everybody else got their first pick. And my first, second, and third pick was anywhere but the 9th. And I wound up in the 9th. So I thought it was the height of hypocrisy and racism. So that's all I can see when he was pretty much telling me to make it work. And it really did work. The great thing is that I made a lot of really lifelong friends in that precinct. And it was the first time that I started meeting other young black professionals like myself involved in law enforcement. And people don't realize how talented some of these guys are. Like I've met some incredibly talented people who did great things within the police department. And we're doing great things outside the police department. And even to this day are doing great things. Like the skills they had, they most of them wound up getting advanced degrees and doing just incredible. A bunch of them became college professors. This amazing people.
And then so I know you said like you started as a police officer, like kind of like
I was a police officer about 2.5 years. I made an incredible number of arrests, and then I got reassigned to the police academy to the GYM unit, which is our tactical training unit. It was amazing because usually you got to ask for it and apply for it. actually didn't ask for it. I don't know who recommended me. I actually don't know how I got there, but I wind up there. And that was incredible because I met people who were training the officers of tomorrow, and they were all incredibly gifted. And just to be able to keep up with them, my skill level had to jump. Tactics wise, a lot of them was training me at nighttime or when we weren't actually training recruits. So that was my first level of responsibility for somebody other than myself. And many of those recruits have become chief, slater, captain. Just you want to get that right. You want to get that training part right. So I'm very happy of my efforts there. From there, I got promoted to sergeant. I went to Midtown South, where I worked as pretty much a rookie sergeant for a little while, till I got up to speed, and then I became, I think, one of the more veteran sergeants. I wasn't there long, maybe 2.5 years. And from there, I went into narcotics in East New York, which at the time was, if we want to talk about the city with the most drug problems and murders, definitely East New York. That's 75th precinct. So I did narcotics there for a while, and then they came up with this idea that they were going to take a bunch of narcotics officers and put them in the offshoot of the squad for them to deal with just drug-related murders. Not even regular murders, but just drug-related. So I was luckily chosen for that, and I got to pick my team, and I picked some incredible detectives. And that's what we were doing until they decided that I should go to grad school. And I was fortunate enough to be selected to go to grad school, and it was a great deal. I got my paycheck at the same time. They paid for my room, my board, all of that. It was just an incredible opportunity. And that opens up a whole nother chapter of your life. You're with some of the brightest people in the world, being taught by some of the brightest people in the world. Everybody has their own little specialty. So when you're talking about connecting to people, that was my first step. But it was also the first time that I started to look beyond being a law enforcement officer. And when I began to look at how policing affects so many other arenas in life and how policing connects to it. So and it was also the first chance I started looking at how being a police officer, look at different aspects of policing. Not just the training or how we station people in certain areas, or what's the number of people, or how do we overhaul the complaint system, how do we work with communities. Once you come back from grad school, I came back, I was put in what we call called OMAP. It's literally like the think tank or the police department, where again I get exposed to all these amazing, incredibly bright people, leaders of tomorrow. And our job was literally to be in-house advisors to chiefs and the mayor with regard to policing. So you're literally at the nerve center of where heavy decisions are being made. You have to be able to write, speak well, analyze information, give alternate points of view, and usually there's a timeline to these projects. I was lucky that initially a lot of my assignments dealt with things that I had already been trained in. It dealt with tactics or narcotics or use of force. So that was a nice start. And then from there I moved into more complex projects and assignments, And I was there for a while. Then I did a stint in internal affairs. Not a good time for me. But I do credit internal affairs for having me get another way of looking at things. There's a lot of different internal affairs unit, but I was assigned to the one that looked at police use of force. If someone got hurt badly enough to be hospitalized by a police officer, someone like me or another investigator would investigate that. And that's just a whole nother layer what you looked at. I actually thought I was going to be super busy. I thought that I would just never be home. And it was quite the opposite. I think at that time, the NYPD's use of force would surprise most people how little it happens. People think it happens a lot. The biggest problem with the NYPD was discourtesy. They do have, like any other agency in the United States, they do have an element of racism and differential treatment, which they pretend or they say they're going to do something about it, but that's a whole nother fight and a whole nother conversation. But it allowed me to take a different lens at policing there too. And I was there long enough that I got transferred back to headquarters to help build what we call the juvenile crime unit, which analyzes trends, juveniles, how they're kept, and advises officers in the field what to do with juveniles that they come in contact with, whether to arrest them, to incarcerate them. And it's also a chance for us to take a look at the juvenile crime problem, which we thought was major, which we later found out was not the key to lowering crime in New York City. It was not juveniles, especially at the time. Juveniles considered 15 and younger.
Yeah.
And we don't really have a lot of guys 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 doing robberies.
Yeah.
Those, we have some of them, and we know who they are because we've been arresting them. So we got some control over them. It's not like we kicked over the hornet's nest and we saw all the stuff that we didn't anticipate. That area had already pretty much been, conquered and looked at. And that was like my last command before I retired. So I thought I had a pretty interesting, interesting career.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, how did you separate yourself in order to get all these positions and like be?
Something. Not lazy. And I work just to keep busy because I get bored easily, and I adapt and learn new things. So I got moved to different units that taught me different things. And I think I was lucky enough that it all started when I was academy and I was in charge of other people, and that helped me look at my role a little differently. And from there, becoming like a very young sergeant. Sergeant, I had 4 years on. So I was an incredibly young sergeant, and just having that task of having to look out. And I was assigned to Midtown South, which is the largest precinct, that and the 75 in the world. So I had the benefit of being in the two largest precincts at two different times and just seeing how that whole thing worked. And a little bit later, after I came back from grad school, I also became an adjunct professor, where I'm teaching 2 or 3 classes. So now I'm teaching. So I not only get to do what I do in the daytime, I have to explain it to a way that an average 18, 19-year-old that maybe didn't study as hard when he was in high school has to absorb it, get better at it, and then later when they become police officers and correction officers, live the thing that we're trying to teach them.
Yeah. Like
So we're setting kind of a pattern for it. And even then, I met a lot of young professionals that decided to be adjuncts at night, and they were incredible. So I literally was surrounded by all this talent.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm looking at what my brothers in our chapter are doing, and they're blowing it up.
Yeah.
It's really hard not to do well when you're sitting next to all these brothers who you pledged with, you came in or came in after you, and they're doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
It creates, I don't want to call it an internal pressure.
I was gonna say it's like a good pressure though. Like,
It's great
like,
pressure.
Yeah.
Like you're picking up on their habits.
Yeah.
There's no way about it. Your language changed, the way you dress changed, the way you see yourself in the neighborhood you grew up with changed. Where one of the things I always stress is I'm not trying to look like the next guy on the next corner.
Yeah.
That's not what my experience has given me. That's not what all the education and training has taught me. I'm supposed to stand out. I'm supposed to be that guy that is kind of a leader, whether I want to or not. It comes with the territory of being part of the Divine Nine. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be that light that helps lead. We're supposed to be the ones that help make sure that ladder stays down so others can climb up behind us. And what I say to young brothers is that you have your year 2 to have your fun, but then we're expecting to kind of grow up and start doing the community service and just taking a different lens to how you carry yourself, so other young men and other young women can see that and start following you. You're supposed to be kind of a leader, kind of a model, for how to do things. So I guess I'm in that phase now where I'm a senior citizen, So it's fun.
Right.
And it's fun for a different reason also. I'm looking at some of the younger brothers who are now 30, 35. And they don't see it, but I remember them when they were 20. And to look at what they're doing now at 35 blows me away. Just like most older people that take a lens toward training and education, we're consistently blown away. Not only how our young people do it, I'm taking a look at how our children are doing. Joe Cadero's son just won
Kappa League
of the Year.
Yeah.
That's incredible. None of us would even conceive of being in Kappa Leagues when we were his age, much less, just it's a scary thought. Just
like him doing all that work as, well, he's like 15, 16.
His son is just got accepted to Kentucky, so he's going to colleges. Like I'm looking at our kids go to the colleges that we didn't even think about applying to. And they're getting scholarships and they're going and they're being athletes. Like their world is blowing up. And they, hopefully we're going to get more of them doing the same thing. So it's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think one thing I've Well, one I was interested in like seeing the chapter was how successful everybody was, and then being a part of the chapter though, it is like a little weird to kind of like look around and you just see people that make money that you would like hope to make. Or, like,
Will make.
Yeah, and they're in
Will
positions
make.
that like these higher positions, like for example, like Harley's senior vice president of Moody's. It's like,
Right.
how did you get there? It's almost weird. It's like I feel like I should be doing more, even though I just graduated.
Well, we're going to get you there,
Yeah,
you know,
it takes
and
time.
we're not going to get you there. You're sitting around people where you can ask questions. One of the things I cherish about being a fraternity is the conversations that we have offline. Like, we have conversations that most people wouldn't have with their brother, their father. There's nothing too intimate to talk about. Like, one of the things that I know I try to do is talk about the mistakes I made.
Yeah,
No need for you to make the same mistakes I made if I can
Yeah.
tell you the mistakes and you can just not do that, you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I try to tell you how I navigated something. And not that you should navigate it the same way, because the world has changed. Y'all have more tools, more IA, more other stuff that an old guy like me doesn't understand.
yeah,
But with that tools, the basics are still the same. You know, how you pay attention to detail, you know, how you stay consistent, and those things are what's going to get you over the hump. Plus, again, I like to think that when they say you're the company you keep, we're good company. You know, we're in my house. You'll learn all kind of things. You'll learn how to cook. You'll learn how to make drinks. Not that's super important. You'll learn how to entertain. I do a lot of things that really don't have a lot to do with community service, but then I'll show up and do my community service. You know, so there's so many brothers that if you want to know how to do something, you just got to figure out which brother to ask. And you usually got to ask one brother, and he'll tell you which brother to ask.
Yeah, he'll tell you who
And,
to talk to. So.
and it's not like you're a stranger. You could just call them up and, hey, I want to learn this.
Yeah.
And there are things that even younger brothers are teaching me. Like, I got questions. You know, I call, they come over, they show me how to do things.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a great world. You know? Misunderstood world if you're not in it.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
misunderstood
so
that
it's, you know.
thing. Yeah, that's also something I've experienced, like in being on campus. It's like the image of like fraternity is really just the parties and just strolling. When it's like, but then I try to like explain it to somebody. It's like you really wouldn't understand it because you're not here. So
And I try to explain to people parties. I don't go to parties. I'm a little old to be at somebody's party. Like, that's not the essence of what me being a Kappa man is about.
Yeah.
The essence for me is low key mentoring. You know, I think I entertain bros here 2-3 times a week. My door is always open to bros. I don't think there's ever a time a bro goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I'm really busy. I'm not in the mood." That we don't do that.
Yeah.
You know. And the wild thing is, there's got to be like 20, 25 of us that feel the same way. Like, you could be in any house at any given time, and it'll be like 3 or 4 of us, and it's like 10 of us. Then it'll be like 15 of us. And the strange thing is, it'll start from bros as young as you and goes all the way up to someone like me who's 64. You can walk in this door that's 30, 40, 50, and even what we do for a living is just about as varied. You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember last time I was in here cooking, some bros came in who cook for a living, and they took over the kitchen.
And it's just-
And it was amazing. You know, I had to sit down. I was like, I got no role here. And they walked in with steaks, and you know, it's just, yeah. My sister, when she first started watching me, and as a very young Catholic, she was astonished. She was amazed at all the brothers. And I don't know if you noticed, but she doesn't refer to you as like outsiders. She's like, "That's my brother. That's my brother. That's my brother." She's wholly into it, and my nieces, they all understand. But it took a while because, especially I think in the East, where a lot of people don't pledge like they do in the South, or the South understands it better.
Yeah.
When you do it and you start wearing these strange letters, you get looks. People don't understand it. You know, when I say, "Hey, I got to go do something for my bro," they're like, eh. So there's a little bit of mystery to it. There's a little bit of, I don't understand what you do with it, but man.
We're gonna get into one of your favorite topics, women. So, what I wanted to ask, I think, to start off is like, what was, even when you were younger and even now, like your approach to, like, for lack of a better term, like courting women?
don't know if I had an approach, and I don't know if anybody should share my approach. I don't think it was much different than anybody. We try to figure it out. So I'm single for most of my life. I was married for like a year or two, and occasionally I've had a girlfriend for like a year or two. But for most of my time, I'm single. I enjoy living by myself, but I don't really live by myself. I have animals, and so I date when I date, and when I don't, I don't. I'm good when I'm dating. I'm good when I don't date. So I look for people I can have fun with that are good company. But obviously we all have our things that are deal breakers. Like you really do have to like dogs if you're dating me.
Yeah.
Like there's no way around that. I'm going to have dogs, and I'm going to have more than one of them. You kind of got to be an extrovert, because my house is like a frat house. People come through. So if you're the type like you're good with people, you're gonna have a blast. But if you're the type like you want it quiet, it's not so much. Not so much. So
what's a trait? This is more general, but what's a trait to look for in like a long-term partner?
One person I ask, because I'm not sure I'm looking for a long-term partner. And even long-term, I date someone and it just turns into long-term. I don't know if I'm the kind of guy that I look across the room, I was like, that's my long-term girlfriend, that's my wife.
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody I connect with, we have fun together, and we take it day by day. If it turns to the long-term, great.
Yeah, like more so like if you look back on all your like quote-unquote long-term relationships, like what is like a similarity between everybody?
I've been lucky enough to have dated some of the most incredible women that walk this earth. They're all bright. They all have college degrees. We could talk about a bunch of different things. They're articulate. They're hardworking. Most of them don't do what I do for a living. I've dated, I think, more lawyers than anything else. They just seem to be, I don't know, maybe analytical, which I guess maybe resonates with me, or maybe I resonate with somebody who has an analytical training and framework. So I don't really have a plan. I meet someone, I like spending time with them. I try to spend more time with them, and it goes from there.
Go with the flow, like
go with the flow.
I know you always talk to. I remember like you mentioned a couple times, like when it comes to hosting a woman, like it's like cooking for her.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna cook
if she does.
If she wants to drink, I don't really meet a lot of women that don't drink.
But it's like if she does, like you
I make drinks. Yeah.
So
my thought is, if you come into my house, I want to be there. You barely do anything but just sit and be courted.
Yeah.
So I want to make a drink for you, whatever you drink. I'm gonna make a meal for you. We're gonna figure out what we're doing, whether it's watching movies or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And most of the time, most of the people I manage to date, it's an in-house thing. We're not going a lot of restaurants and things like that. We'll do that. But even when we go out, it's usually black tie affairs and things like that. Because I got to go through a lot of those, and I need company to go to those things. So
the plus one.
So that's usually my plus one. Again, we got brothers getting married and christenings. So those are the things we go to. But like just to get up and go out to eat, I don't get that often. First of all, I like to think I cook fairly well.
Yeah.
And most of the time, they rather come in here and me cook them 3-4 course meal. That usually works out a lot better. So,
What's if you were like in my position, what's something that you would make? Like, what's an easy meal to make for a woman?
Well, that depends, because some people are steak people.
Yeah.
So if they're steak people, steak. I've been playing with this indoor air fryer. I've been frying chicken and turkeys and that goes over well. I've been using the air fryer, so that goes well. Lately, in the wintertime, I've been making these stews, which I just learned, and they're incredible because they keep for days, but they're hot and they've got a little spice to it. And so most of the time when I cook for somebody, a young lady I'm entertaining, I cook like 3-4 different things. Yeah. So she usually has a choice.
Has an option.
And my goal is that she can't eat everything. I have trays so she can take stuff home. So she not only gets like a meal or two here, she can take a meal or two with her when she goes home. And I'm just trying to beat our competition because I know most guys ain't gonna do that.
Okay, so I wanted to hear more about like your longer relationships and also your marriage. I wanted to say
you know something? I can't really talk about marriage. It was so short, and it literally was 30 years ago. And I think over time, I've forgotten about most of it, although I'm somewhat in contact with my ex. But we're totally different people. I do know that when we met, we liked each other. We spent a lot of time. We moved in together. But two critical things happened at that time. One, I joined the police department, which is a whole total rebuilding of who you are. And at the same time, she started law school, which is just incredibly taxing
Strenuous, yeah.
ordeal. And not only that, but as a police officer, I was averaging about 100 hours a month in overtime, which you can't do today. So I was literally never home between playing basketball. I was coaching, reffing, working side jobs. And it was okay because she was in law school. And then after law school, add another year or two for the bar. So we had like a 5-year period where we were like kind of living together. And I think we just drifted apart and we really didn't know each other. So by the time we got married, I think we were trying to marry the persons that we were the 5 years before that, as opposed to the people we are, then at that time. And it clearly wasn't working. We were not arguing. There wasn't a lot of, nonsense. There was no infidelity on anybody's part. It just didn't seem, we seemed to be more like friends living together than,
Then
husband
like,
and wife.
husband and wife,
you
yeah,
know. And I thought that she could do better and I thought I could do also. And that's what led to the divorce.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah, actually, yeah, you never really told that story of like what transpired.
No, I think we just grew apart and became different people. And, I guess we could have did the work to kind of find our ways back. I just don't think we had enough interest in doing that. Or at least I definitely didn't.
Yeah, like too far gone.
I think we were too far gone.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess that leads into my next question, which is, and also like what you said earlier about you make mistakes, you want to make sure that everybody ahead of you or after you doesn't make the same things. What are like what's some advice you would give to like young men just trying to date like in this day and age?
Again, I don't know if my advice works because I'm a different type of guy that I really don't mind being alone and I'm not ever planning on getting married. While most guys are thinking about marriage. And I think the difference also is I do not want to be a father. I've been very clear about that over 30 years. And the average guy does want children. So my advice, I think, would not be the wisest advice for someone who's looking to be married, looking to become a father, because my goal is not to do that. So if you think about the goal of not wanting to be a father, that does impact who you date.
Yeah.
And also how you date. So I would never try to tell somebody on what to look for and how to do that, just simply because our goals are different. And again, for a 65-year-old, 64-year-old to tell a 24-year-old how to date, the space is different.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a main difference in the space: money.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we graduated from college, literally within 6 months, we can all afford our own places. We can all afford to take girls out and it not really impact everything else we're doing. With today's economy and the way things working, that's a tough haul. And if you're still living at home, that's hard to date living at home.
Yeah.
You don't have your own space,
Especially coming
even
out of college.
going and coming, right, you go. And here's the other thing, like a reason why I would say to somebody 24 years old, I don't even think they're really ready for that yet because they're still thinking about grad school, what their job is going to be. Even the job they have now might not be their career job. So they still got to go through a little bit of growing up before they decide on a long-term partner. Would I date if I them? Of course I would date, but I don't know if I would date with an eye toward marriage at 24 where I'm still trying to get so many things together. But people meet, they fall in love, and they figure it out. And that, hell, I'm going to get involved with that. They should figure it out. That's their thing to figure out. So I don't really want to give a lot of advice. I just tell people the way they should carry themselves. Don't be deceptive. Don't try to be slick and all that other stuff. Carry yourself. Be consistent. The kind of thing that any older guy would tell a younger guy. That's just not restricted to just dating, but just life in general.
Yeah.
Just you should be who you are outside of your dating spheres as who you are. There should be some consistency.
Okay.
I always, when I was dating too, thought about my reputation. I never want an ex-girlfriend to be talking to me, to her friends or someone about me, and it'd be negative. Of course, there's going to be some things that didn't work out, but overall, I want to leave a good impression. And I believe I have, because for all the girls I've dated long term, I still talk to them. It's not like I see them, they cross the street and things like that. We're still interested in how each other's doing. If they need something, they can call me. The answer is going to be yes. Without hesitation. I think if I loved you, I've always loved you. I might not be in love with you, but I do wish you well. And with wishing someone well, like we do for strangers and people we don't see. Why would we not do for people that we used to be?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense to me. So I would say that if you're dating, take an eye toward that aspect also. That
like
whether it works or not, you want to be thought of in kind of high regard.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like I think especially like being in school where Bing was like such a small community, so it's some people would know about you.
Everyone knows. There's not a lot of secrets. And coming from New York City, where we have a larger fishbowl that we can move with some anonymity, you can't really do that on a college campus, and especially once you become a Greek.
Yeah.
Once you become a Greek, everyone knows your name, knows how you move. Your business is everybody's business. And I try to tell young boys that you really are, you got to be cognizant of that. You're no longer Jason the Junior. You're Jason the Kappa, So you kind of got to factor that in. And it takes a while to wear that and to be able to do that comfortably. That's not a today thing. That might take a minute.
I think like even like talking to like younger guys, like freshmen and sophomore, like they kind of like, for lack of a better term, like selfish. And they just do what they want to do.
Because they can.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm telling them like, you got to also understand the women are going to speak about this. And then when you're a junior, senior,
and they're going to group your behavior with the other members of your org.
Yeah,
and not just on that campus.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many dozens of times I met someone that goes, "Oh, campus, oh my God," and I'm thinking, "What, brother, did you wrong?" Like just, your reputation carries beyond your campus.
Yeah. So.
And reputations are weird. You could build one when you're like 19, 20 and not lose it until you're like 40, 50. It can go a long way if you're not careful.
Yeah. So I think this is I guess for me personally, it's been a weird like. Because I agree with, I always don't want to leave like a relationship where it's like a more long-term relationship, leave it on some, like we're good.
Right, we're good.
But it's just, I guess, it gets a little convoluted when things don't end.
Well.
Yeah. So it's
but something, time does heal some things. And sometimes things don't end well. But even if your behavior is consistent after that, the few times you run into it, the few times that you're managed, because we're still in kind of the same networks. So even have to carry yourself afterwards might help with that. And some people they just need time and for the emotions to die down and then they see you in a different light. And there's always room to work on those relationships, so. Yeah.
I think one thing that I feel like, not to say that you have a lot of experience in, but like you said, you made a lot of mistakes and you've experienced like a lot.
Even with my mistakes, I don't think I led a mistake-prone life. And I don't consider my mistakes as the way I say mistakes. There are things I would have done differently.
Yeah.
But I don't know I would have done them differently without having done them in a way that doesn't work. A lot of times you do something, it doesn't work. That's not the end. That's just the beginning. Oh, I know this doesn't work that way.
So that you just
like even when I'm doing my art, I might mess up something. All right, tells me don't do it that way next time, to do another path. Yeah. So there are very few regrets. There are things I might have done differently, but I don't regret most of the things. I have a few things I definitely wish I had back, but if I think about the times I hit it out the park versus the times that I didn't hit it out the park, I'm okay. I'm good. I hit it out the park most of the time, and every once in a while, no, I didn't.
Yeah,
and I can live with that, So I never pretended to be perfect. Even at this age, I'm still a work in progress with different things that I'm working on, like we all are, until we stop breathing, So when I say mistakes, I try to tell people in this time, in this space, and try to give them context. I made this decision. Could I have done something differently? And when I approach it that way, maybe I could have.
Yeah, but a lot also like hindsight's 20/20. So it's like
Always.
You can see it. Oh yeah, I made that mistake, but that's all based on the information I have today. But when you think about like decisions you made in certain certain spaces, and you think about what was like, what information you had at the moment, and it's like it made sense.
You know, I always tell people you're going to do the best you can in the space you have with what you're working with and make that decision. And later, you're going to get more information, and then you're going to be able to make better decisions.
Yeah.
I think also when you're younger, you get paralyzed by too much information and too much stuff. While when you get older, you learn what to key in on. You don't need as many external factors to make a decision.
Yeah.
And like even when I think about policemen, a lot of decisions that a policeman make might be based on 2-3 variables, not 10 or 12. That tends to overwhelm your decision making. You only need 1 or 2 that you trust, and then you boom. And as you get older in other areas of your life, you just need a few things. You're like, all right, I know where I'm going with it. And you just go with it. It works out or it doesn't. If it doesn't work out, there's going to be a lot of L's life throws at you. That's part of being an adult. We're going to handle those L's. You have the tools. You're going to grow the tools. I don't think your L's define you. I think how you react to your L's define you.
Yeah.
So we're going to hit roadblocks. Things are going to happen to us. We're just going to get better at handling things, better at making decisions, and better at being tougher about the L's we run into. They don't knock you down. You're like, oh, okay, I got to work on that. Oh, I got to handle that. And that's just the way I've had a terrible week last week if I want to look at it. But my thought was every time something happened, and last week was a week, I was like, all right, I got to deal with this. All right, here's another thing that, I get to think about. And that's that, it lets me know I'm still alive, so So again, when I'm thinking about what advice to give people about decisions they make, I don't necessarily want to tell them how to make a decision. I just want to ask them, what are you looking at? How did you arrive at that? And a lot of times they don't have to answer it. That's like kind of a question that they internally need to play with. And then they'll make better decisions, So no, I don't need to microscope and go through their life. And we're going to talk about generally speaking things. And, most of my conversations are with how you carry yourself, what language you use, what do people see, And once we get through a lot of that, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Do you have like a specific moment in your 20s that like was a failure that you feel like changed the trajectory of your life?
A failure?
Yeah.
No, there's some things I would do differently or some things I would do earlier, but I don't think I have anything I would call a failure in any part of my life, actually. I have some decisions that I wish I can take back, but those decisions also made me.
Yeah.
Like even if I think about my childhood, it was a terrible childhood, but it made me resilient as an adult. So I wouldn't take that back.
Yeah.
That's why I think I was successful as an adult, because I went through so much stuff as a kid that I can look at it and go, hey, I've been in worse spots.
Yeah.
And managed to do okay in worse spots. I'll be fine. So I don't know if I would define anything as a mistake. I would define things as, it's kind of like when you're playing basketball and you threw a shot up and it was a terrible shot. You wish you had that one back. It's just one of those things,
you just know it doesn't work.
You're not gonna shoot perfectly every time. You're gonna have a day. You're never gonna have a day where you hit every shot and the day where you miss every single shot. It goes back and forth. It's just how you deal with what you're dealing with. So my thought is, hey, I'm gonna have good days. I'm gonna have a few days that's not so good. Overall, it'll pan out.
Yeah.
And it has for pretty much all of us.
Yeah. It definitely does. I wouldn't say it gets easier. You just kind of get used to.
I don't think it ever gets easier.
Yeah, it just I think it genuinely gets harder.
You get better at dealing with hard.
Yeah,
I don't think it ever gets easy. I think you're gonna amaze yourself in a few years how many things you can handle at the same time without even losing your breath.
Yeah.
That would have knocked you down when you were like 16, 17, 18. If you even think about what you're able to handle right now compared to when you were a college freshman, there's no comparison.
When I was a college freshman, I was stressing about like one class, and then I started, even as a sophomore, I was doing a lot more as a sophomore than I was as a freshman. It's like,
And then as a senior, where you're doing compact classes, you don't even think about it. It's just something you do.
It's just
just like when you graduate, and you have that nexus from being in college to doing terrain to, you got to find a job because you need money, and then trying to find your career job, and then trying to advance it. These are all transitions that everybody's gotta have to make.
Yeah.
you're gonna look back 10 years from now, and you're gonna be amazed by how much you've grown. And then another 10 years, boom. And then in a little while, if you're not careful, you're gonna be a father, and now you're not just having to chart your trajectory.
Is
You got a family project, and you're gonna be amazed at how you handle, things with your wife and your children and the in-laws and the job and everything.
it's like
It's going to be just one of those things. You wake up, you get dressed, you brush your teeth, and you go.
go about your
I don't even want to say problem solve. You go live,
yeah.
which is part of problem solving. You got to have to deal with parents getting older, illnesses, and you're going to deal with it. You're going to be that person that other people count on you to deal with. If you take a look at like our fraternity, most of the bros in our fraternity are the rocks of their family.
Yeah.
They're the ones that when trouble happens in the family, they turn. Why? Because they have experience. They have not just experience, they have other brothers who they watch do this and they've counseled or they've been when they learn from that also. And since we're like a network, we have a bigger network to help you deal with it. So by default, most of us are going to be the rock, the leaders, the ones, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when it comes to like you said, like your problem solving, but you're really just living. It does, like when you look back on it like 2 or 3 years, I'm just like, man, like I wish I was doing more with less. Like even like in back then and now I have some more resources or even less resources. I'm just like I know I can handle it because I was.
And here's the wild thing about more resources. More resources mean you can help more people. And you're going to help more people. So you're not just going to carry the weight of the ones closest to you. You're going to carry weight of people that you don't know. I remember years ago, I was walking with our brother JJ, and he walked by a homeless person. And I don't even think the guy asked for something, and JJ just backed up and just handed him a water catch and just kept going. And when I look at brothers, that's what they do. They solve problems and help people they don't even know. And we'll probably never see that guy again, but that's not even the point. The point was he had it to help, and he carries a lot of weight. He's got children, but he never hesitates on a chance to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how we build each other now. That's what community service is.
Yeah, like that's what a lot. That's also an important point with community service. It's like I'm able to do this. Like I have the time, I have the resources to just be here, and I know they need it a lot more than me.
And I know that you know that even if you give it to them, you will get it back. You will replace it.
Yeah.
Like it's different than when I was like, did not really have the resources that if I tried to help too many people, it left me in a spot. But now I can help people. And what's the difference? I might have one less steak tonight.
I'm not gonna miss that necessarily.
Right. One less drink. I'm
compared to
the help you could do, the beneficiary of letting that go. It just doesn't make any sense in the real world. So you're gonna help as many people as you possibly can. Maybe too many, but that's I don't know.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right, there's worse things you could do with your money.
Yeah.
And your time. Just worse things.
Yeah, a lot worse. I guess another question I had was, I know you said you have a few decisions that you would not necessarily change, but like maybe like make a different choice. What is like one of the bigger ones that you have where it's like
I definitely would have left college earlier and joined the police department earlier. Knowing what I know now. I was one of the older recruits at 25, 26. And if I could have did it when I was 21, 22, it meant I would have retired earlier.
Yeah.
Financially, I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference, but I would have been on that path sooner. When I think about what I had pledged earlier, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I was on the third line, so that wouldn't have made much sense.
And they also, I feel like, at least for me, like mentally, you got to be ready. And like, I think I was more ready when I did it than like any earlier time.
For me, it was a different thing. It was so new to the campus that it hadn't really been fleshed out. And since most of us don't know Greeks until we see them, at least in the Northeast, there were no Greeks when I was a freshman in Binghamton.
Yeah.
There was nobody there. They came on when I was a sophomore. So after watching 2 successive lines, I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I might be interested in that. and that's what kind of helped. That and basketball got taken away, so it just went from one to the other. So it was natural. And also the line before me had one of the bros I went to high school with, and we were fairly close. And after watching him go through it, I was like, okay, this might be doable. So I don't know if I would have did that earlier, So I think that might have been time better. I think I became a much better student later, but I had to be not a really good student first to learn how to become a better student.
Yeah.
And also the change of scenery helped me become a better student once I started my career and went back to school. So I wouldn't change that either. No. And as far as my relationships, and no, I could have did a lot worse. So I wouldn't have changed any of those things either. And I'm trying to think now. I'm pretty happy with the way things worked out for the most part. For the most part.
I think I remember learning the psychology that when you get to like your age, a lot of people start reminiscing about their life and like their legacy, and they kind of like, I think it could lead to like a weird depression if they are not proud of the life that they lived. So
now looking back at your history and your legacy is two different things. I have no legacy. Just simply because I have no children. And that's a decision that I made. That's not important to me. And it's important to other people. So the legacy part.
I mean, in my head, I think legacy doesn't necessarily just mean like lineage. It's just more so how people could talk about you. So like, even if MLK had no sons, his legacy is everything he did while he was alive. Not necessarily.
Okay,
that's what
I stand corrected. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
When I think about it, I think about people who know me and people who don't know me. For people that don't know me, I don't really care what they think. They don't know me. But for the people that know me, yeah, I'm proud of my legacy. I'm proud of what I contributed to my friends and the people that I surround myself with. And I think I've been that way as far back as I remember. When I look back in my life, in my history, I'm just amazed I'm still here, actually. So when I approach it from that point of view, every day is a great day. Yeah. It just literally, I've lived far longer than I thought I would. So, and I've done, considering I'm a kid from the boys group homes, I'm the only kid that didn't grow up at home, considering what I built and where I've been and some of the experiences I have, and I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. And for the places I didn't get to go to that I might have wanted, that's on me. I think you get what you work for, and I worked just as hard as I wanted to. Could I worked harder? Yeah, but I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I could achieve more status in the police department. Never was interested in it. Never was interested in being a lieutenant or a captain. Not my thing. A sergeant, I got to impact a small group of people, just not as far as the police department, but in their personal lives, and make sure the policing part went well for them and for their families. And I was totally happy with being a sergeant. So on that note, I was totally happy with it. I got just enough responsibility without wanting more. And again, even as a sergeant, I think I had a lot more responsibility than the average sergeant, and that was more than enough. And it allowed me not to just be like, I find a lot of people that's in the police world are just mainly, in that world. Yeah. And, just being a lower level supervisor allowed me to still be a vital part of Kappa Alpha Psi, also to be an adjunct professor. I can have more oars and more ships and being in a lot of different things. So long as I didn't do too much in any area, I think I can be in a lot of different areas. Yeah. So I was pretty happy with that, And now, I'm trying to fool around with this retirement thing and, see how that's working. And that's a transition. So, like all.
It was just so now it's just like artwork and.
No. It's more relationship building. I spend on the phone talking to older brothers about what to expect, how to navigate simple things like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever the difference is. So I'm talking to older brothers about how to be a senior. Your body doesn't work the same. Those are conversations that I can't have with younger brothers. I got to have them with older brothers. Yeah. So I still have mentors or people I look up to that I call, hey, let's talk about this. And they drop what they're doing or they call me back. We have those conversations. So I'm still doing the artwork, but I'm in a different phase of that where my main focus of that is to teach others to do what I do and then have them do better. And I have like 3 or 4 people who are absolutely incredible. They're going to do incredible things with it. And they also have better tools. They have a different lens, so they're going to do what they do. And, this thing, many years from now when I'm not around, it'll still live in our chapter. So I want to live in Kappa, but I definitely want to live in our chapter because we've always had that, even before me. So, I'd like that to continue. And again, we got 2 or 3 brothers that will make sure it continues. So when I think about the artwork that I do, boom, that's working out there. And then, my dogs are my dogs. I take care of them. They last as long as they last. And then I start over, so, and, I got the crazy cat, which I'm fond of. So, yeah. So between my animals, I'm still entertaining. I'm still cooking. And I have pretty busy days.
Yeah.
Plus, I've been working on my health, dropping weight, eating healthier, not drinking as much, and that takes about 3 hours a day. Just between the riding on the bike, the cooking better foods, and all that other stuff. So I'm pretty busy. So I'm a good busy, as I call it. So, and I get to choose what I want to do now. It's not like I have a job where I have to be there. So I pretty much can decide, okay, today I'm going to do this, today I'm going to do that. I've gotten more sleep than I've ever gotten in my life. I literally used to be a 4 or 5 hour a night person. I'm sleeping 8, 9 hours.
That must be nice.
I'm working it out. And, I get up from there and, I get on my bike and, I do a couple of things. I pucks around. I'm not in a rush to do anything. Just the whole speed of everything is just different. And that has taken a while to adjust to that, Like even something as simple as where do I sleep becomes like a major decision. Like it's
like the
couch, recline, and I have so many nice places to sleep. Even just a heavy decision that I make 3 or 4 hours before it starts is what am I going to fall asleep to? It's just like it seems like because there's so many different shows and stuff, and I'm a documentary person and I'm into history. So I'm reading that, and then I want to take notes. I keep acting like I'm a professor, So it's a good life, It's a good life, and I'm about to start putting the workshop back together and fixing the place up. So I got projects, I got projects.
Okay. My final question would be, what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self, based on like let's say I don't know, this is college graduation. Something to like lead him throughout life, and something for him to think about. What would you say?
Well, I think I gave myself some advice a long time ago. I used to volunteer at a nursing home, and I came in contact with so many senior citizens, and they were in poor health. They were literally at the end of their lives, and the old people talk. That's all they do. And young people don't like to hear old people talk, but I was actually fascinated by it. And I remember they told me, and I wasn't even in college yet, and they told me, live, no regrets. Just go for it. And the advice I gave myself then, I still live by, is live for the day, prepare for tomorrow. I don't want to be so busy preparing for tomorrow, I forgot to live. I don't want to get to a point where, my days are really numbered, and I go, I wish I should have. I'll try anything. I'm a skydiver, scuba diver. I'm about to get back on my motorcycles again. It should be fixed by now. So no, I live for the day, prepare for tomorrow, and that's the advice I gave myself when I was in my 20s. I gave myself when I was in my 30s, and I continue to give myself now. So, hey, you know me. I'll do anything. I'll try anything.
Let's just get up and go.
Let's go. If it doesn't work, I just won't do it again, or I'll change how I do it. So just, and you can't be afraid to try things, to do things. So. And I've seen other people in my life who are just afraid, and I see how fear just inhibits them. And I was like, I'm not going to be that person. So I've been fortunate. I've had really good friends, really good mentors, contact with really good people. Even the contact with the people who are not good have taught me something. Like I can't think of how many criminals I ran into that I had some contact with that made me go, okay, don't do that. That's a bad look, so you learn from even the bad stuff in your life, so I've been fortunate.
So live for today, prepare for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all I had. Do you have anything else to say?
Nah, thanks. Before this thing started, you told me you were nervous.
Yeah.
And you asked if I was nervous, and maybe I should have been. But I was looking at it like I'm gonna have a conversation with a younger bro, and we talk fairly often anytime.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I wasn't nervous, because I was gonna be talking with you.
Yeah,
You know,
like
the fact that the camera's rolling, I've been filmed before. As a police officer, you're always on film.
Yeah.
I've been in front of college campuses talking to people, so I have that side of me. But I didn't even look at it. I looked at it. It was a chance for me to spend some time with you, talk. If we don't go out to eat, I'll cook something. So that part was not nerves at all. I was actually looking forward to it. So I thank you for that, and I appreciate it. I didn't know what you were going to ask. I don't think it mattered.
No, yeah. In my head, it, like you're just a great conversationalist. So it's like anything you could go through.
I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was just nervous because I think I'm just worried about the success of it. So like,
I always think nervousness is a good thing.
yeah,
I don't want to be around people who don't have the ability to not be nervous. Nervous brings a edge of caution, a way to at least think about what you're doing before you start doing it. And it's something that I think our body, our mind does to protect ourselves, to make sure we're focused. So being nervous is always a good thing.
yeah. Remember Eddie Massey told me it means that you care.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I don't want to be around people that don't care, that are not nervous. Like those are dangerous people. You just.
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you for tuning in to this first episode, and we will see you guys next time. Peace. Thank you again.
Got it, brother.